Hey, welcome to another game development episode where we're recreating The Legend of Zelda in Game Maker. And today we are going to focus on game inputs from a game controller like this. Now, originally I had planned on doing more level build out stuff that I had talked about in the last episode. But as I started planning out the next episode, I realized there's a lot more I need to make sure I get right to make sure that we have a good set of episodes for that. So while I work behind the scenes, I'm going to cover some other topics in between and make sure I'm still providing content to you guys. And this is all stuff that we need to cover anyway. All right, so a couple things I want to point out here. This is the manual for Game Maker 1.4. And this picture is representing all the buttons on something like an Xbox 360 controller. And these are important. All these right here in white are pointing to the various buttons and control sticks. And these right here are constants that we need to understand how to use. We are going to focus on the D-pad, and this is GP_pad, L for left, up, down, right. And then we're also going to use the select button. So we'll get to these, GP select, GP start. And then these two buttons, the green and blue, which map to GP face 1 and GP face 3. So this is what we're going to use in code. All right, so in the code, there's really only two places that we need to deal with this. One is when we start the game up, we're going to check to see if the game controller is plugged in. And if it is, we're going to set a global variable that says it is. And the reason we're going to do that is because we don't want to run that code every single time. It's actually a little bit slow. And so let me show you. In our objects system and in the game, when we initialize the game, we call this init game script. And this script is actually where we want to initialize a lot of the stuff for the game. So we're actually going to go back over there to scripts, utilities, and init game here. So in order to do this, all we're going to do, so I think this is the first time we've done a global variable, so I'll talk about that. Global variables are something, this is a variable we can use everywhere in the game once it's set. So that's the global nature of it. Other variables in your object that are not global are only accessible in that object, or if you call that object and then get to its variable. So this is going to be pretty handy. And all we're going to call this is Gamepad, and we're going to make it equal to, we're going to call a function here. We're going to call Gamepad. And there's a bunch of functions that we can use, and we're going to say is connected. Now you'll notice here it says device. That's the one input it that has. And all we need to do is put a number in here. Between 0 and 4, I think. So that's how many controllers it can look up. And it starts with 0. So if we're only looking for the first controller, we're just going to put 0 in here. That's the device that we need. At this point, we're done. We have now checked and set the global variable. The next thing that we're going to do is we can close all that. We're going to go to our input object, which is again under system. And this is where we check for all of the inputs. And in our create event, you can see all the inputs that we checked for. Up, down, left, right, select, start, B, and A. But on every step is when we actually check to see if those controls are getting hit. Check controls. Not controls, trolls. There we go. So here what we already have is we have the left, right, up, and down for the keyboard check, but we don't have the gamepad check. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add not a function, but we're going to add an if statement down here. We're going to say if global.gamepad. So if that exists, then we're going to run some code to actually check for the controllers. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to allow for both the keyboard and the game controller to be used at the same time if somebody wanted to. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little or. So for example, here we'll say left is equal to left or, and what we're going to check for here is gamepad button check. Very similar to the keyboard check. So keyboard check or gamepad check. And it accepts two variables. Oh, you can't see the bottom. I've changed the resolution, so let me fix that real quick. There we go. So it accepts the device, and we know from previously that we were using device 0, so we're going to say 0, and then button index. And that goes back to what I was showing you guys earlier, which is we need to stick one of these things in to say which button are we checking for. So we're going to use the GP_pad U, or I think we were doing left, so L for left. So we're going to say GP underscore pad L. And that's how we check for the left. And so let me read this because we didn't really talk about it, but this is an OR statement right here. And we're just checking to say, hey, if this was already left, great. They pressed left on the keyboard. Or if they pressed left on the gamepad, we'll set that to true. Otherwise, it's going to be false. So we're going to do that for all of these directions. So right equals right, or check 0 GP pad R. Okay, so let me fill all those out real quick for all the directions. Okay, so we have our left, right, up, and down. Now we need to do, one thing I need to add real quick actually is we don't have the select here. Select equals, and we're just gonna say this, VK, and what should we use for now? Let's do, we're already using space and control and enter for the various keys. So let's do Alt. So that'll be our select button for now. And then, okay, so let's do the select and start real quick. We're gonna do select equals select, or, and it's the same thing. So we're gonna do a, actually it's a pressed. We're gonna do a pressed instead of just a check. So we're gonna do gamepad button pressed. Oh, I think it's check pressed. Check pressed. And so this is just checking to make sure it got pressed one time. On the up, down, left, and right, we're okay with constantly checking it. But for all the other buttons, we only want to check it once. If it's pressed once, we don't want to keep checking it. We're only going to check it the first time. So it's also just asking for the device and the button index. So that's 0. And we can say GP select. And then I'm just going to copy this, and we're going to do the same thing for start. And here we just say start. Okay, the last we're going to do is for the button B and button A. So button B equals button, whoops, or, and we're going to do the same thing, gamepad button check pressed, device 0, but this time we're going to say GP face. And again, as a reminder, let me bring up that. So if this is A, that's face 1, and B is face 2. So that's what we'll put. So it's going to be, face 3. So we've got that one, and we're going to do the same thing for button A. Check faces 1. So that's all of our buttons. So now this is going to check for both keyboard and gamepad controls at the same time. So let's test that out. There's one last thing. If you guys were following along with the last episode, we had this test 1 room. None of this is going to work if that test room is actually the first one. The title needs to be the first one. So we're going to move that. The reason is because the game object is not actually in this room, and so the controls and nothing's going to work correctly. It's actually going to error out. So let's test that out. Okay, so I'm going to press start. It worked. I know you guys can't see my hands. I do have a controller in my hands. I'm going to press start again on the controller. I'm actually trying to get the controller as close to the mic as possible, see if you guys can hear it. So I'm moving up, down, left, and right, pressing A. And then I'm pressing B, but we don't have anything on B, and pressing select and don't have anything. Press start and we get the control or the menu to come down. Do it again. And then let's see, the keyboard still works. And we've got the start button and A. So that's all working out. All right, that is the end of the tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for those of you supporting this channel. It means so much to me. We are getting close to 1,000 subscribers. That's huge. It's blowing my mind. You don't even understand. That said, I wanted to go over Patreon real quick. That is a way for you guys that really want to support this channel monetarily. You can do that. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. I've got it up and there's a link below. I have added reward tiers for those of you that want to donate at the various rewards. I've got an activity feed, which is a behind the scenes feed where I'm going to talk about the videos coming up, tips and tricks, stuff like that. It's a great way to support the channel at a low cost. I've got downloadable content. This is a change. I'm now rewarding those of you that donate at $3 or more. You're going to get access to the project files that are in each of these tutorials. At the $5 reward, you get access to the Discord server where I'll be on, and we get to talk about game development. You can talk to your peers that are also interested in donating at this level. You can vote on future topics at this $10 level. Or if you're really dedicated, and I don't really expect anybody to do this, but if you want to be that person that really wants to support this at $15, you can get your name in the credits of this video. It's going to mean so much to me if you guys do support this at any level. It really will. So thanks again for everything. I will see you guys in the next tutorial.